So here's a pretty entertaining one about a husband whose wife is throwing a big giant temper tantrum because he abandoned her at a party after she was causing him to be late for an extremely important flight that was important for his job and career, the same job and career that pays 80% of the bills. And now she was losing her mind because, he was such a jerk and blah, blah, blah. And as I get into this, you'll see a little bit more why I'm doing this story. And it's a good one to show you guys, once again, that you need to have respect in your relationships. And if somebody doesn't respect you, they're going to treat you accordingly. In this one here, you're going to see she doesn't respect him. And if your gal doesn't respect you, she sure as hell doesn't love you. And there's going to be a lot of turmoil in your life. And there's always a point when that type of thing's going on. You need to evaluate your situation, whether you should continue being in the relationship with said person. Otherwise, it's going to go to hell in a handbasket. And, of course, how narcissistic people always blame everybody but themselves when they act like jackasses. And you'll see what I'm talking about here. Title: Am I the a-hole for leaving my wife at a party, going away solo when she was making me late? It says, I'm 28, my wife is 27. She graduated medical school in 2021. They had a graduation party since everybody was vaccinated, but it was a pretty small due to the recent outbreak there. You could only bring one guest and you had to socially distance, blah, blah, blah. We all know that story. Her medical school decided to invite the pandemic graduates to this year's graduation event. They planned this all out, pretty last minute party, only giving 3 weeks notice that this was happening. But my wife was very excited about it. She gets paid crumbs and works long hours as a resident, so I get why she wanted to relax and have fun. She's getting paid breadcrumbs, and she is a doctor. She's out of medical school, and she's a resident. Where the hell does she work? What kind of situation is this? The issue is that I had a huge work trip the next day that had been planned for months. I don't travel for work a lot, so they went all out to make this comfortable. And I had a lot riding on it. If I didn't do well, I would probably be fired. But if I did well, there'd be 2 open positions I could be promoted to. My wife wanted to come with me, so my company comped her flight, and we were going to make a vacation out of it after my presentations. Okay, so this is important. He said this could make or break me. So he needs a supportive, loving wife, not to cause problems, but to be his cheerleader and help him in the situation. And they're paying for her flight and all that. We were flying out the night of the party to ensure that I made it on time for the meetings the next day. I told my wife we shouldn't go to the redo event since we have to fly out and would be very tight. She insisted we go to the party since the party started at 3 p.m. and our flight left at 9 p.m., but the gala was an hour and a half away from the airport. We made a plan to leave at 5:30, pack everything in our car beforehand so we could go straight to the airport. Now that was pretty tight. And I am personally, guys, the type of guy that is psycho about being at the airport early because all sorts of bullshit can happen. I've butted heads with people in my life about that, and I learned back in the day when you travel with other people, I've said, hey, I'm going ahead of my own Uber, and I'll see y'all there. I'm not going to be dragged out. I have missed a flight one time long ago because of a girlfriend was being a dumbass. Never did that again. So it's tight, but he's being fair. Okay, we'll go to the party briefly, but then we got to go to the airport. Well, watch this. But by 5:30, she just started saying goodbye. I told her we need to leave ASAP, but she said no. We don't have to be 2 hours early for our flight. Around 6 p.m., this guy from medical school, who had a crush and asked her out multiple times, grabbed her hand and pulled her to another table. I'd stop that right then and there. Motherfucker, you take your hands off my wife. I'll beat your ass. But by the way, she's a doctor, works at a hospital, and you all know from my other channels, and this one too, the stories about nurses and medical personnel that goes on in the hospital. So I wouldn't be at all surprised if, well, you catch my drift. I went up to them and told them I told him that he needed to back off. He said I need to treat her better and let her enjoy herself. I looked at my wife, but she ignored me. What does that tell you? Now, I'm sure she has some alcohol in her. That's no excuse. They have to catch the flight. This is important for his career. He pays on pretty much all the expenses, and this is how she's treating him and letting this douchebag fucking tell him what's what, and she's ignoring him. Goodbye. This is time to cut your losses. At that point, I said I wasn't going to try to convince her to stick around or stick to her word anymore. I told her I was leaving for the airport and took a car. There's a ton of traffic and security. What a mess. So I only had a few minutes to spare before getting on the plane. What a self-centered a-hole. She texted me horrible things. I never responded or engaged, but she kept texting me how horrible and didn't understand what it was like to have COVID ruin a huge moment for you. Oh, big deal, you crybaby. You couldn't do a damn party. We agreed to this in advance. This is important for my career. It pays the bills. She is self-centered, selfish a-hole. And by the way, my company paid for your flight. Imagine how this guy looks when she didn't show up. I disagree. She still had a graduation party. It's not my fault she didn't get it to dance. I don't see what the huge deal was, and conversely, think that she didn't understand that this would cost me my job if I missed the flight. And since I make up to 70% of our income in a HCOL area, we would essentially be homeless. We've been on tense terms since this happened in June. She brings it up a lot and is recommending therapy, so I can learn how to behave in a marriage. But I don't think we need it, since she's the one who caused this whole problem in the first place and should take accountability for that first. But am I way off here? Am I the a-hole? No, you're not the a-hole. She's the a-hole. But she is self-centered. She's narcissistic. And she doesn't give a shit about you. Her actions, all about actions, demonstrated that. Fuck her. And tells you need to go to therapy to learn how to better behave yourself in this marriage. Bitch, you need to learn how to better behave. And by the way, how about that jerk off that took your hand and was telling him what's what? Now, look, this guy is only 28 years old. He can't been married that long. Your whole life is ahead of you. End it. Everybody's always like, SSM, you're always so quick to say to end the marriage. Well, because I have lived long enough and seen so many marriages go to hell in the handbasket, plus the 2,500 videos I've done across 3 channels. There's a pattern here. No amount of therapy is going to turn her into a selfless, loving, loyal, supportive wife. She's an asshole. She's selfish. And I guarantee you, she's cheating on you. Guarantee you the way she's behaving around that guy. Because guess what? There's a certain stereotype with the hospitals and medical personnel. I'm sure you guys have either heard those stories, or maybe some of you guys in the medical field have seen this firsthand. Who knows? So no, it's a bad idea. Cut your losses, move on. Yeah, and obviously you pay 70% of the income, so you're going to take a hit, but it's worth it long term. This is not going to work. You don't want to be with someone like this. She doesn't. You need a wife, gentlemen, for you marriage, because you want to get married one day, whether I agree with that or not. You want one who's on your team, who's supportive, who's backing you up in your career, particularly if you're the one paying all the fucking bills or the majority there. And that isn't, and it puts you first. You as your husband. The second they say I do, she needs to put you and your children, your family first, not her friends, not her coworkers. You know? And you also, if she's loving and loyal and deservingly, you put her first before other women or any other bullshit, you know? And your kids and your family. That's how it should be. That's how things will work. But here, no, you can't stay with her. But he'll learn one way or another, I hope. But there's a bunch of comments here, but I'm not going to read them because they pretty much all say what I say. But anyhow, guys, let me go in here. And again, it's all about respect. And if she doesn't respect you, this is the type of shit you're going to get. And that's the treatment there. You always pay attention to people's actions.